Strive and Thrive is a collection of discussions featuring guests from various fields, focused on guiding entrepreneurs in creating businesses that excel in every aspect: people, planet, and profit. Throughout the series, you can join us, Romesh and Mike, as we explore relevant topics with our guests which can help businesses thrive.
Romesh and I met while I was supporting a client transforming their business, and I needed finance director support and reached out to him and his team. Since then, we've become good friends who share a passion for business and entrepreneurship. If you like today's discussion, then you want to subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify channels. Hi everyone, and welcome to our latest episode of Strive and Thrive with Claire Butcher. Welcome, Claire.
Hello, thank you very much.
It's great. So let me introduce Claire. I haven't actually known Claire for very long, but since I have, it's been a real little whirlwind of exploration, conversation and alignment around SMEs, innovation, training, growing business, and it's been an absolute delight. And as soon as I met her, I knew straight away she'd be one of the most interesting people we'd bring on to Strive and Thrive. So welcome to the show. Claire, to get started, could you give us a super quick overview of your career and where you've got to today?
Yeah, okay, very super quick. My video's a little bit delayed, so I'm just going to assume everything's going well your end. So I'm Claire Butcher from Clarify Training, and the reason I am here is because my main goal in life is to travel the world, and I do that in lots and lots of ways, and I use my business and my life to help me to do that, which is super cool. So Clarify Training was founded 25 years ago, and it was a training company. And as I've gone through those years, I've become a trainer of all sorts, including leadership management. And ultimately, I'm now working with clients on a sort of business coaching, operational coaching relationship. And it's the happiest I've ever been and the most successful results I've ever seen. And I am loving every second of it.
Excellent, Claire. Thank you so much for that. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. And I know this is going to be a very interesting discussion. So just to touch on the travel firstly, I know that you're a big traveller. You've hit quite a high number of countries, I believe.
Yes, not as high as you, apparently, which I found out, which made me very sad. But yes, 86 now. So we're aiming for the 100 in the next 5 years. So yeah, a few more to do, but they're clocking off. And it's not about the number, but when you're this close to 100, you've got to go for it, right?
Yeah, I get that, and yeah, listen, your plans mean that you're going to overtake me very, very shortly. So, yeah, enjoy, and yeah, it's a great interest to have. I'm getting here from your lovely little intro, kind of that you love helping businesses operationally. So, am I understanding correctly that you essentially are almost like a kind of fractional part-time COO or Chief Operating Officer?
Yeah, it depends what the client really needs. Sometimes I'm a business coach who supports them to make good decisions and grow their businesses. Sometimes it's focused on operations. Sometimes it's focused on just driving the entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of neurodivergent entrepreneurs as well. And other times they literally will say, I'm not going to do any of this. Can you just come in and do it for me? And then I become their interim operations manager, and I get them set up, and I get their teams and their departments all set up, recruit the right people for them, train them up, put all the procedures in place, make sure the management training happens, make sure that the management meetings happen and they know their numbers, etc., etc. And then I let them get on with it, because now they're competent, they know what they're doing, and their business is thriving. So any of those will fit. Whatever the business needs is what I can do for them. But it's very, very focused on operational, because I am a can-do kind of chick. I don't do the whole sit on a desk and tell them what to do, a consultant person, because I've just got to get involved. I just like to be involved too much. So yeah.
Okay. So What kind of business do you tend to help in terms of size, sector, number of employees?
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to pinpoint that, aren't you? It's very difficult for me. I work with startups, and I also have a company that has 240 staff that I work with, and I work with their management team and help them to form their goals for the following year and the strategic goals for the following year, and they're huge. They're a really, really big company, really massive turnover. So anything in the middle, anything in between. I suppose the guys that tend to get me in on the interim operational piece they're just starting to form their management teams, and they need to get them operationally correct and operationally ready. So you're looking at probably a company with maybe 3 or 4 managers that would need that operations piece, that interim operations piece. And quite often the plan is that I will create the role and then train up and hand over to the permanent operations manager to then take over. So
okay. So it's quite a wide range of size, I guess. And funnily enough, that's very similar to our kind of clients, startup, scale up, SME. Very similar. One of the things I love about serving lots of different clients in this way is the variety of work, constantly learning and developing. Yeah, so you
and passing it on, right? So you can pass on that experience as well. The only rule I make is I only work with one type of business at the same time. So I wouldn't have like 5 plumbers on my list or something like that, because when I work in with the business, I work wholeheartedly for them. So I will be out networking for them, or out generating leads for them, or out speaking to their clients for them. And I don't think it's appropriate that I would be talking to somebody in the same industry. So it's the only rule I make.
Do you have a sector perspective, Claire? You mentioned plumbers, but are you broader, software services?
All sorts. I work with a lovely lady who owns a cafe. I work with a plumbing and heating company. I work with a virtual assistant. An IT company as well. I'm just trying to think of everybody I work with. I'm going to leave someone. A printing company. All sorts of different sectors across the market.
And do you care which ones you work for? Are there any you particularly enjoy more than others?
No. I think what I enjoy most is the business owners that engage and they're so excited because they're so brilliant at what they do. They just don't know how to do a business because why would they, right? But they're so excellent at what they actually deliver and what they actually do. They just don't know how to top and tail it. They don't know how to get their numbers right. They don't know how to get their people right. They don't know how to get customers referring other customers and those kind of things. Because why would you know that? We're not born knowing how to be business people, right? We have to figure that bit out for ourselves. And whilst they're doing that, they're not doing the stuff they love. So this is the other reason why it's so good to reach out to people like us, to say, well, I'm not great at that, or I don't even like doing it. Can you do that bit with me or for me? And I just think that's just so humbling that they trust us with their most prized possession to turn it around for them and give them something that they've always wanted. And that is such a privilege to be part of. And I absolutely love it. I love seeing that success. I love seeing those numbers go up. And they all go, oh, I don't know. I don't really know how that's happened. And you go, I think you do. It's how much work you've been putting in. It's so
loving that. I'm loving that passion that you've got there. One of the key things that I heard in that was the word trust, and actually, I think that's so important. And you've kind of underlined something that's so critical. You're taking on responsibility that's so significant, important to the business owner, the business leadership. It's their baby, as you said, right?
It is. It's their complete brainchild, right? They've come up with it from nothing. They've created it from zero. And they get to a point where it's now too big for them or too complicated for them, or it's just not something they get up in the morning and look forward to anymore, because it's all the detail now and it's all the operational stuff and all the numbers. And it's like, and I'm like, well, that's okay, because I love that. And I take on responsibility for what has potentially gone wrong or hasn't gone well, so they don't have to feel bad about it. I take that responsibility off them and say, come on, we'll make it right now. Don't worry about that. Let's move forward. And I help them to put in place. And, we test and measure, because not one size fits all. We test and measure, we make it work. I get to know them and I understand their appetite for change. because I can move super fast and not everybody likes that. And I understand their appetite for what they want to do. I mean, it all comes with, well, where do you want to see this? Because some consultants will assume that a business sets up so that they will sell it. That's not the case for everybody. Not everybody wants to create a business that they sell. Not everybody wants to create a business that they have loads of staff in. So that's key.
Yeah. So do you see, you've obviously operated with many businesses in this space. Do you see common themes, common problems,
Yes.
common challenges that you're constantly helping these businesses solve?
Yeah.
What are the top 5 or 6 that you might see?
Okay, number 1, numbers. Okay.
Wow, straight on it. I love it.
Straight away. Okay,
that is really in Romesh's sweet spot.
It is. So I don't want to step on toes here, but Romesh will know. The thing is that you get people. I did a talk the other day actually, and I asked some poignant questions in the room, because I don't do talks at people, I talk with people, and I was getting them to feedback, and I was going, right, in this room, put your hands up if you're confident you 100% know your numbers all the time. And not one person put their hand up. I was like, thank you for your honesty, because I would challenge you, okay? Because the thing is people will look at their P&L, their profit and loss. They will look at their P&L at the end of every month, and they'll go, oh, there's a positive number, that's good. Okay, which is cool. It's better than saying, oh, that's a negative number, that's bad. But that's all they do. Now that P&L depends on the right information going in, the right buckets, the right analysis being done, and also that all the information is current and up to date and signed off by the end of the month. And that depends on the accountant. And does the accountant have a good enough relationship with you? Do you have a conversation with your accountant outside of the end of year? I don't know. So this is the thing. So when people are looking at their numbers, when I talk numbers, I don't just talk about P&L. I talk about customer life cycle, average spend. How many leads are you converting? How many leads are you getting?
Operational, developmental KPIs, right?
It's everything. It's, who's your most successful employee? Who's your fantastic generator of leads? Who has the best success in converting? And it's not to beat people up, it's to educate. It's to really give those people that are thriving the opportunity to thrive more and get rewarded for doing it.
How many CEOs do we meet, and I say we being collective, it's not aimed at you, Claire, that actually can read a P&L?
Well, not many.
Yeah, they can see the gross number, right? But can they really read a P&L and what it's actually saying? And I was working with an organisation who was looking at its balance sheet, and that was just foreign to them.
Yeah. And I think one of the big issues is the buckets as well that people put stuff into on their P&L, because there'll be the other expenses, and you challenge it and you go, well, what's that? And they go, oh, I don't know. Okay, we need to look at that. And I guarantee if anyone's watching this, I guarantee if I set you one challenge, that is go check your subscriptions. There you go. That's my free gift for you. I've probably just saved you at least 20 quid a month.
Subscriptions, direct debits. Yeah.
Just go and check them, because I guarantee there'll be a couple on there that you haven't looked at for ages and you don't need them anymore, because we ignore the little money because we think we're all right because we've got thousands. But the little money is what made us successful when we started out. We shouldn't ignore it.
This is music to my ears.
This is not music to my ears, Romesh.
Mike's bored.
Mike shut down here. But listen, as a fractional CFO, come on, I'm going to love this, aren't I? Yeah, and Claire, I couldn't agree more. I think it's really important to have a grip of your numbers, right? Whether they're financial, whether they're operational, whether it's sales, marketing, whatever, because actually it's data, it's information which will help you run your business better, isn't it? Identify opportunities, identify weaknesses, and hopefully give you the time and the early warning in some cases to actually sort out the whatever it might be. So that's really interesting. And there's overlap in terms of what we do a little bit there. But what else in terms of the operation? What other kind of common challenges do you see?
I think one of the biggest problems I see is the businesses. There's two things that I'd like to add, actually. They're two slightly different, but they're sort of linked. One of them is the direction. Okay. So quite often a business will have a reason for existence, which is great. They might have set their direction, they might have set their visions and their goals, because that's all very corporate, isn't it? To have your vision, your mission statement, blah, blah, blah. But it's so key for the owner to actually have that, but also have that communicated. Because if everybody in your business doesn't understand or buy into or even have an idea of what the vision of the business is, there's going to be very loud people in there. And I don't mean loud like me. I mean loud as in they have a lot of power, who potentially can take you in a different direction. And that won't be necessarily them being evil. They're not in a corner going, now what can I do? But they're potentially going to take you in the wrong direction because they have no idea what direction you want. Or worse still, you've communicated so badly, they think you're stupid and it's the wrong direction. So I think direction is so important for the business owner to even know. And I have had several strategy meetings with customers. They don't know the direction. They think they're answering me. And I often challenge them. I say, right, you've given me the marketing answer. Now, can you give me your answer, please? Because I've heard what you said on your mission statement, but now I want to know what you want to get out of this business, because they might be slightly different. So that is so important. And the other thing is, I notice all the time that a lot of customers spend a lot of time, money, outsourcing, and also for themselves, generating a lot of leads. Okay, so spend a lot of money generating a lot of leads, but they actually haven't got their ducks in a row operationally. So those leads come in, nothing gets done with them for a couple of days. You kind of don't know what to do with them. Maybe you can price it, but you price it inconsistently because you don't know your numbers. So you actually, if you've priced it and actually, oh goodness, now we've lost money on that project. Oh, sugar. Or it's worse than that. They do nothing with the leads. I have had a client that had 20, 30 leads coming and they couldn't touch them. Okay, they'd spent a lot of money investing in gathering leads, but they couldn't deliver because they were over busy because they hadn't got their operations right. Okay, so we have to be ready. And I one of the clients that I've worked with recently, I said they want to turn on the button because they said as soon as we turn on the button, we're going to get loads of leads. And I said, we're not ready. Do not press the button yet, because if you press the button now, we're going to be in trouble, because we have got to get the pressing the button onwards correct. Okay, another client of mine had invoicing sat months waiting to be done. There was too much going on. They didn't have time. All of this stuff. People are listening to this going, duh. Yeah, I know, be careful throwing stones in glass houses. It's really, really difficult when you're in that business to see the wood for the trees at times. You're so busy being busy. You don't always get time to really consider the business and what the business needs to do. And it's not the most thrilling thing in the world. That's the other thing, isn't it? So find someone that loves to do it and get them to do it.
So it's sequencing and prioritization, right? So that's the message there. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, it's something that we see in the financial side of things as well. Yeah. And obviously there is that kind of overlap in that Venn diagram in terms of looking at operations and finance. And sorry, Mike, you must see that all the time too.
It's funny, we're all looking at it from a different lens, but I often meet founders in the same situation who go to me, Mike, I've had a new idea, I want to take the lead, I want to get something new built. And they often spend quite a lot of time, even money on it, but they can't deliver it. And I'm like, unless you get that bit right in the first place, get your business structured, you're never going to do new. And so what I often see is that, so we're all seeing the same thing, the same trend of that kind of, but I often think of it as a founder becomes a little bit disconnected with their business.
Yeah.
And I don't mean disconnected in terms of passion and heart or trying to succeed, but maybe in terms of what it actually is at that point in time and what it's not.
Yes, I agree with that. I have had, I had a very, very sad situation when a company I was working with, the founder of the company actually said, this is not what I set up. It's become a beast that I don't want to be part of anymore. And it was really sad because she put her heart and soul into it, but it had become a business that was basically, it's really interesting because she kind of did the right thing because it was business that ran without her, but it was a business that she no longer recognized. And that was nothing. That was way before I knew her, by the way. You can't blame me for that one. But it's one of those things that happens. When your business is successful, it's really needed in the marketplace. It can take on a life of its own, and it became something that she hadn't ever intended in the first place. But that was okay, because what we could do then was help her to extract herself and help her to go and start up again where she wanted to be. Because some people will set up a business and it becomes bigger, 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 and they didn't want to be part of big business. They only wanted to remain in small corporate, in like a small family run little tiny business. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that. If that's what you want, let's get you there. I'm not here to say, oh, you must franchise your business, that's the only way to make money. It's not about money. Okay, sometimes for people it's about their lifestyle. They want to have a lifestyle business, a business that works so they can spend time with their family or traveling.
In your two's case, traveling.
Exactly. So, why would you build a business where, for me, I would never build a business where I need to sit at my desk 9 to 5 every day and have 20 days holiday a year. No, thank you very much. That would never be what I'd want to build. I'd want to build something where I can continue to work with clients from all over the world, which is exactly what I've done.
Do you think there's something in the persona of not the persona, because founders have different personas. Do you think there's something in the stage of a founder that you find you've been working with, Claire, that's perhaps ready to evolve, needs to evolve, that they actually need to embrace you as much as kind of recognize what's going on?
I can tell you exactly when that hits. That hits when they've had a really good year and they've been able to take quite a lot of money. And then the following year, they have an even better year, but they can't hardly take any money. And it's that tiny bit of growth piece. It's that piece where they get too big to manage it all themselves, and they have to start bringing people in, whether that be externals or whether it be an internal management team. And they find they're therefore not able to take the salary that they enjoyed the year before, but the turnover is increasing. And it's that frustration of, what's going on? Why am I more successful over here, but I can't do this? And I was like, well, that's because you don't know your numbers. Let's get your numbers out on paper. What is the magic number we need to hit for you? Okay, let's start from there. Right, what needs to happen to get you to that number? Then let's look at the ratios, because it can look, I'm like, woohoo, look at this great profit number at the bottom of the, but next year you invest in a new machine or a new person or a new premises because you've now got to grow. Suddenly that profit margin's gone bye. And it just feels terrifying. And that person's going, well, I was earning more when I was doing all the work. What's going on? And I'm like, but you couldn't grow like that. So we have to understand there is a bit of a teething issue there. So that is a pivotal point where people go, help, I don't get it.
That really resonates with me. I'm working with a client who's doubled their team in recent times, and they're really busy, but the bottom line isn't quite what they're expecting it to be. And again, to your point, and absolutely, it's all about the numbers. So what's happening? And it's been really good and interesting kind of probing and asking the question, right, what's happening? And if everyone's busy, you've got a team that's twice as big, why what's happening? How come the business isn't generating more profit? It should be. And we've identified 3 or 4 reasons for that. And it's not just about identifying them, it's obviously solving them and constantly monitoring to see how that changes and evolves, right?
And a lot of those will probably be operational rather than mistakes, and there'll be just things that they're taking too long, or they're too long-winded, or the process is just too crazy. And the clients, we've got to always consider any business is only going to be successful if you've got a buyer. Okay, and I don't mean a buyer for the business, I mean a buyer for your product or your service or whatever you're selling, right? If you do not provide excellent product, service, whatever, you don't have a business. And if your service and product is flaky at best, because the product might be great but you don't deliver it in a consistent and repeatable manner, next time you get a new order, what do? Bob in the office deals with it completely different from Sarah in the office. Well, that can't be the luck of the draw. How can a client say, oh, I was lucky I got Bob, and they're like, oh, I got Sarah? It's just not, it can't be like that. It's got to be, it sounds boring, but process is quite key when it comes to getting operational excellence.
And the good news is it's stuff that you can control, right? It's internal. It's in your gift. You can totally influence that. It's more of a problem if you're not generating sales and your strategies aren't working externally, right? So I think it's a really good win that is totally influenceable. Sorry, Mike, I cut across you there. What were you going to say then?
No, I think it's interesting, right? I think you're touching on the challenge of sales that happen perhaps by accident sometimes, and the readiness of an organisation to be ready for that kind of operational growth. And I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting point in a business's life cycle. And you're always taught kind of recruit more people, replace. But often what organisations do is they think, oh, we've never had anybody doing this role and this role, and then they kind of beefed up the size of the organisation rather than actually build it for the operational size that it needs to be.
Exactly.
And I think some people assume with scale you suddenly need new departments. What? Hang on a minute. What's your growth strategy and what you're trying to do? The other thing I think is interesting, and you touched on this, Claire, earlier, is that what you're trying to do with growth. Are you trying to have a blip where you cash generate, or are you trying to grow a business? And sometimes growth is, you assume it's going to continue. Actually, you maybe just ride a nice wave of cash generation and let yourselves shrink back to what's a more natural size. I think that kind of decision making is lost in a growth period because you just feel busy.
Just gets really exciting, doesn't it? It's like, oh, let's see if we can smash numbers again next year. But the thing is that I think there's more satisfaction. There should be certainly more satisfaction from a client who hits a similar turnover, but their profit margins have gone whoo, because, it's like, this is what's important, guys. We can all be busy fools. We can all generate cash till we're blue in the face. But actually, if we don't get to keep any of it, what's the point? And, on your point about departments there, Mike, you can have virtual departments. You can have one person that sits over 3 departments. It doesn't matter as long as ownership is established. Because my biggest beef is when you've got a business that they don't, either the owners will keep all the ownership themselves because they're a bit scared to give out power, or they give out power and nobody takes it, right? And then you've got nobody in charge, nobody saying, all right, that's mine, nobody taking that responsibility. And then you end up with a small business with a blame culture, which is definitely shouldn't be happening, because blame culture shouldn't happen full stop, but it certainly shouldn't happen in a small business. Goodness me, because there's no excuse for that.
Crippling, isn't it? It's crippling.
It's horrendous, and it can only come from one place. I'm sorry to say, you can't have a blame culture unless you're responsible for that. So I want to I want to make sure my clients have a responsibility culture, not a blame culture. So whose fault it is, but who's going to own this? Who's going to make this work? And that again is operational. So if you want your operations to run super smooth, give it to somebody that wants to make that happen, and I always spot the people in the organization that are going to make great operational leaders, because they're the ones that go, yeah, but how do we do that, Claire? Tell me how we do that, because I've got some ideas, but I don't know how to make that work. And I go, let's talk about your ideas. Let's see. Okay. The people that sit there go, we've always done it like that, are not going to make great operational leaders.
It's really interesting, isn't it? It's when often the ideas are there, it's encouraging the team to provide the solution, right? And then it just becomes this virtuous circle. And I've seen that quite recently with another business.
Can't hear you very well, Romesh.
Oh, really?
That's better. Okay. I don't know why that went muffled. You're back now.
Okay. Apologies. So I was just saying that I work with a client that's really been focusing on their processes and improving. They've done a brilliant job of analysing every process in the business, whatever part of business it is, and understanding, well, how can it get better? Do all elements of it need to be there? Can we eliminate stuff? Can we save people time? And what they've done is they've got the team really engaged in that. So they've done it by saying, okay, let's stop doing that. And the team's loving it because that's really boring stuff that they hate.
Yeah.
And they're now coming back to management saying, hey, we can do this as well, which will eliminate this or automate this. And it's if done well, it's virtuous because it's helping everyone, right?
Yeah,
the team's doing less boring stuff. They're doing more value-added work, and they're being heard.
Yeah, and they're more engaged, so they're going to be keeping an eye on continuous professional development for themselves, but also for the business. And how the process doesn't become about the process; it becomes about the outcome. So the staff member or colleague or managing director or whoever, it's all about the outcome. What are we trying to do? But that kind of piece of work can be a bit all-consuming. So you have to be a bit mindful that the process work. If I'm leading a process change kind of conversation, you'll find me the one pipping my head up above the parapet and saying, right, hang on, let's just get ourselves back to what we're trying to achieve here. Forget, you're getting really bogged into the detail here. Let's talk about how it starts and what the end looks like first, because we've lost that. We've gone into this little detail bit now, and we're going down this thing and we're saying, well, customer has to fill in this form and do this. But you said to me that you want the customer to have the easiest job in the world, right? You want the customer to be able to press a button and buy your product. But now you've taken it down this, we've got to collect that, let's not do that, right? Let's refocus what we want that end goal to be. So sometimes you can get quite bogged into process, which is why I think people find it quite boring. But if we constantly remember what the outcome should be and get everybody wedded to the outcome, as that process grows, develops, gets embedded, gets trained on, doesn't get diluted because everybody is still talking about the outcome.
Yeah, and that links in with your earlier point about the vision of the business and where it's Absolutely. Trying to get to.
Yeah. And this is Mike's wheelhouse, isn't it? Turning a process into something that's easy, automated, innovative, clever is right up your team's street, isn't it? So
yeah. And for me, there's something interesting what you said in homing on the outcome, because for me, what I've seen work in organisations is create an environment of a learning environment in the organisation rather than an efficient organisation. And I think I'm not saying you shouldn't be efficient, but you've got to make a continuous learning and an approach to learning. Because what you tend to find is these organisations become blocked by process. And that then grinds them down, and they can't unlock that. Although they all know they don't need to do it, they're like, "We'll do it next time because we're busy this time." And then you get that kind of fragment, that continually stuck organisation that's going, once things ease off, we'll create the capacity. No, hang on, that's not right. Get into continuous learning as you're building.
You're absolutely right, and the really dangerous part of that is as the organisation is on a growing spurt, they're taking on 5 or 6 new people. Those 5 or 6 new people are learning the old ways of how to do it, a broken process. And then when it comes to making that change, they feel frustrated. They've just joined an organisation. They thought they knew what they were doing. They've just learned it all. And now you're telling them it's changing. And you've got this horrible culture then of these people. They don't know where they are. They don't know what they're doing. And they've come in and it's like, I relate this to my son my son's autistic. When he went to school, they learned phonetics for the first year. And then after that, this is like reception year, right? And then after that, they learn how to spell properly. Well, it was too late by then because my son had learned how to spell phonetically. And now they told him that whole year was a waste of time because that's not how you spell. He was livid. He was absolutely off his head, angry. And so they had a battle for about a year trying to get him to learn how to spell because he refused. He flatly refused. He said, "Why have you been lying to me for a year?" And I think there are people in organisations that can feel like that. I've been brought in, I've been taught to do this job. Now you're telling me that this doesn't work, and you've known all along it doesn't work. And now you're trying to get me to do something different. It can feel so frustrating. Whereas if, like you're suggesting, Mike, if you come in with that whole, this is the outcome, and you are going to help us to get there. And I need all your ideas and all your experience from all these other places you've been and worked, or if you come out of uni, all the places you've learned from education, all the new ideas you've got from the newfangled AI out there and everything else, come and talk to us. We're open to listening. That is such a fantastic future-proof organisation right there.
Really good, really good. I'm going to pick up on the conversation you went with your son, and I know you do lots of work with neurodiversity as well, so I'm really keen to expand on that. And I guess let's pivot off where we're talking. Do you see a lot of that in entrepreneurs, founders? Do you see a lot of neurodiversity?
Darling, I have to say, I think most entrepreneurs are neurodiverse because we don't fit in, do we? So entrepreneurism is typically about why did most of us start a business? Because we didn't enjoy being employed, because we thought we could do it better, because we've got this new idea that no one else is doing. That's very neurodivergent thinking, isn't it? Because we're not a square peg in a square hole anymore. We're a hexagonal peg in a 3-dimensional bucket. It's really interesting. So being definitely neurodivergent myself, which I hadn't realized until later life, I tend to attract a lot of neurodivergents to my door because I don't demand from them I don't expect them to fit into the way I want to work with them. I fit in how they want to work. And I join them in their passion, because every neurodivergent business owner I've ever dealt with is so passionate about their concept. They are absolutely overflowing with passion, enthusiasm, and love for what they're doing. And they've got a million ideas about how to do things, and they're trying to be doing all of them all at the same time, and they're no good at doing any of them because there's too many. And it's about, let's turn that into an action plan. Let's figure out what stage is which, and which, it's almost project planning for them, and saying, look, we need to do this first, okay, and then we can do that. But I'm not going to lose that idea. We're never going to forget that idea, because I love that idea, and we're going to actually come back to that. But we can't do all of it at once. So let's look at what's the most exciting for you, the one you're going to put most of your energy to first of all. And then let's see how we dovetail the rest of it in around you. And let's see who else we need to engage with, so that you're not trying to do all this on your own. Okay. And I'm part of an organization called the NEA, which we specifically work with neurodivergent entrepreneurs. We work with universities as well, talking to them in their business schools. We've got a conference coming up in November that will be really, really amazing for people to all get together. And it's just such an exciting place to be, because they're so full of energy and so full of enthusiasm that they always succeed in one way or another. Okay. And it just needs that little tiny bit of help, like a little bit of backup to support the difficult times and the imposter syndrome and the executive dysfunction and all the challenges that go with being neurodivergent.
And do you think they're trying to live up to a persona that they perceive as the appropriate founder or entrepreneur? Or do you think they haven't realised where their magic sits? And I hate you, that's a dangerous word, but where their talents sit and where their natural behaviours sit. And therefore what they need around them to support them. Which sort of category do you think, or both?
I think it's all of that. And I think it depends what they've been around and what tribe they have around them. Okay, so if you imagine being a person that's very different to the rest of your family and your siblings and your cousins and everything like that, as you grow up through life, you're probably being told to shut up a lot, and you're probably being told that your ideas are a bit crazy and that you won't amount to much, and you need to just focus on one thing at a time. I certainly remember my school reports are always, this will shock you, I'm sure, from this podcast. Claire doesn't never stop talking. So all those school reports were this, but I wish those school reports would have said, Claire is the energy in the room, because that's actually what it was. Okay. Claire attracts people with her positive energy and her can-do attitude. If more of my school reports had said that, I'd have strived for greatness earlier in life. I was told very early in life that I would never amount to much more than a secretary. And I was told that also by a careers counsellor. And I think that should not be happening. But, to anybody, neurodivergent or not, anybody should not be put into a box and said, this is probably what you'll achieve. I think that's wrong. I think what we should focus on is, everybody can achieve anything they want to, but you've got to name what it is. You've got to decide what it is. And you can't decide that if you're being put down all the time. So there needs to be more encouragement. And this is why the NEA exists, actually. It's to say to these neurodivergent entrepreneurs, come over here. We're hearing you. We think you can do this. We're your tribe. If you haven't got a tribe with you, we'll be your tribe. Because it is really, really difficult. And it's difficult for anybody being a solo entrepreneur anyway, because if you don't have the support around you, you're not going to know if you're going to be able to do it.
And do you think
what kind of challenges do you see that neurodiverse individuals face when they move into entrepreneurship, Claire?
It's getting those ideas into some form of action. Yeah. A lot of the ideas that neurodivergent people have are quite out there. They're not always. There's sometimes they can just do it. I can do it better than that person. Okay, they're not always like completely mental, like we're going to go to the moon or anything crazy. They're not like that necessarily. But then they get to the point where they go, oh, and now what? And also imposter syndrome. I'm sure you've heard of that. Imposter syndrome sneaks in, and it's like, well, who are you to decide that? And that's the tribe talking. That's the background of all of those people over the years going, you're wacky, your ideas are crazy. I started my first business at 11. Right? Why would that have happened? People thought I was bad, and I was like, well, that's what I do. And I was working at 14, and I was full-time as soon as I could get out of school, because school was not, I was all right at school, but all my friends were the teachers, because that's how I rolled. I like to learn and listen to people who had life experience. I wasn't interested in these kids that didn't know anything. And that's just made me a bit different, which is cool. But at the time, I didn't necessarily realize that I didn't need to listen to the people that didn't believe in me. I should have been seeking out people that did. But you don't know.
So it's a lack of confidence at a young age, because
I
you
think
weren't
that can
encouraged.
I think that can really impact. And as I say, it brings in the imposter syndrome for sure. And a lot of business owners are in that space where they're like, who am I to be this person? Who am I to be able to tell people what to do? And who are you?
And at what stage does that occur, Claire, though? Is it someone's got an idea and they can't incubate that idea and turn it into
it can be as early as
or
that.
is it they're grown up as a business and they're suddenly like, whoa, hang on, this is quite big now. This wasn't me.
Absolutely. It can happen at every single possible stage. It can happen any day of the week for no reason, seemingly. Okay. You could be trundling along in your business very, very well, happy days. And then you can get, this actually happened to me. You could be happily trundling on in your business, working with SMEs, maybe businesses up to maybe 30, 40 people. And then suddenly you get an invite to go and talk to a business of 250 people, and you've got to present to the board. And you go, what? Am I ready for this? Yeah, you are. Go and do it and smash it. And then you'll be able to say, now I can do that. But it's so hard if you've got nobody else that in your life that says, yeah, of course you can. Come on, you can do that. If you're the only one saying it, you've got both the devil and the angel sat on your shoulder going, yeah, you can. No, you can't.
Without being controversial, maybe I am. Why is that any different to any entrepreneur? Because every entrepreneur we've spoke to on this podcast goes through that same experience. They go through that point where they go, whoa, hang on, Romesh made the point for his own business. He suddenly realised he had to do sales and he was proper outside his comfort zone. I've had the same experience. Well, what's your view on the sort of subtle differences between that and just someone growing a business and hitting those normal boundaries of, whoa, this is something new and I've got to really get myself out of my comfort zone?
Yeah. So what you will find is if you do have additional executive dysfunction, like a neurodivergent person will have, potentially, yes, all of those different strategies happen, all those things happen, all those different moments happen. The difference is between how it's handled. So the difference between perhaps a non-neurodivergent person and a neurodivergent person handling those things potentially could be paralysis. Like a neurodivergent person might literally go, nope, I can't, I'm switching off, power down, and that's it, game over, I'm not doing this anymore. Versus perhaps a non-neurodivergent person might go, oh, this is a bit scary, but maybe I can reach out to somebody who can support me and maybe I can find my tribe. I think that, again, maybe this is very, very generalization, but maybe some neurotypical people find it easier to find friendships and close friendships and form those bonds. And some neurodivergents don't find that as easy. They don't have such a sincere and thoughtful relationship, potentially. So it also depends on that, and that's not.
Having a support network is so important, isn't it?
It
Have
is,
our key learnings doing this.
It's the right people that get you and want you to succeed for the right reasons, and they're not just here just to make themselves look good for your success as well. So it's challenging, and I think you can easily be sent off down a path and not see that it's the wrong path as well, which I think is typical with every entrepreneur. We can all do that, but the neurodivergent people might take that to heart more than a non-neurodivergent person.
I also think there's something about the stereotypes that people come into the entrepreneurial world with, and especially if they've come out of school with a belief that they're not as capable as people who are more naturally suited for educational environments. Therefore, they're seen as the more successful. So they're automatically fighting a non-real taboo at that point.
Yeah, and where are they sent? So people that don't fit into education and don't come out with results and exam results in the typical subjects, English, maths, that kind of thing, they're sent into something manual, right? Okay, there's nothing wrong. I'm not judging, because we need everybody in these places and they're thriving. They love it, right? I'm not judging. But my point is, maybe they don't fit into an educational system because they have a lot more to give. Okay, that doesn't, it's a very, very big system to have to change. But it does need to change.
Do you think they could teach entrepreneurship at school more to
We
support
are
the
the
individuals who
NEA.
neurodiverse?
Yeah, that's part of what we're trying to do. So as the NEA grows and gets bigger, we want to be part of policy change in education. So this is why we're already talking to universities about their entrepreneurship within the universities as well. But yeah, the next stage will be colleges. The next stage will be actually schools. So, you know, people claim to have this kind of thing in schools. It's not. You know, there are people in schools that could set up CICs or businesses now, and they would be amazing, and they'd come out of their education and they'd have a thriving business already. They are
There's so much untapped talent, isn't there?
It's incredible. It is
we were
incredible.
speaking to Dave Jarman a few episodes ago, and he runs you know, an entrepreneurship course at Bristol University, and also an accelerator program. And there are so many. We were talking about the fact that there are people who have great ideas, but don't have the confidence or the understanding that can become a really good business idea.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's education and entrepreneurship. What I'm hearing here is entrepreneurship is for all, right?
Absolutely. Bring it on. I just happen to specialize in that because I attract the neurodiverse people because I'm neurodiverse, and they see that, and that's cool. So
to create an environment of collaboration for all those people, to be for everybody, right? Not just neurodiverse, for to create a network of support that helps you when you hit the wall, when you find something difficult, when it's not natural to you, when you don't know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that collaboration environment.
Exactly that. Yeah.
So many of these challenges that all these entrepreneurs face, including ourselves, you know, everyone's gone through it, right? You know, so it's not, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's support each other and, you know, build off knowledge and experience that's already there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody deserves a fair shot, right?
100%.
Yeah. I like Romesh's point and yours on untapped potential. And I think there's an assumption on what entrepreneurship is, and I think Dave talked about that on his podcast as well. I know you've referenced it already, Romesh. There's a misconception of what entrepreneurship is, and I think if you could flavour that much better for people who are more inclined to want to work in that type of industry, this might not suit everybody, but if you could help people understand the art of the possible, and it's not about growing £1 billion business, to your point, Claire, it's about growing a business that you can then go travelling, it's about growing a business that you can then do the other things that you love doing. And I think there's something about that could be taught to people much earlier in life, and much more strategic decisions could be made by them and their families.
Yeah, and how fantastic would it be to actually have complete control of your life? To do what you absolutely love to do with the people you absolutely love to do it with, and have this idea turn into something that's big for you, and like we said, that's defined by you and only you. But that's a huge gift to society, because you've got a person that's self-sufficient because they're loving what they do, they're not struggling. You know, they're bringing in the like-minded people that want to work in that part. They're serving a need. They're doing it well. They care. You know, what a great society that would be. It's just a bit challenging because people get stuck in corporate roles when they could well be very entrepreneurial, but they're not sure how to take that first step. So, you know, I think everybody should just have a little think and go, am I getting what I want out of this or not?
Good for you for encouraging it, Claire.
Very important.
Thank you. I do.
Really good. Thanks very much, Claire. So great to have you on the show today. Super interesting. What's next for you over the next couple of years, other than hitting the 100 milestone in a number of countries?
Yeah, I think I found what I want to do. So I think I want to do more of this. Yeah, I want to work with clients who I want to keep myself accessible. I don't want to become some £1,000 a day person. I want to keep myself accessible, and I want to work with the people that I enjoy working with, that really want to achieve what they want, and they just want a hand. They don't want to take somebody on full time. They just want a hand to get them over that little hurdle, and then I can watch them flourish from a distance and cheer them on from the sidelines, because that is so good.
Really good. Thank you very much. Romesh, any final thoughts on this?
Well, I just want to say, Claire, a lot of what you've said really resonates. Your modus operandi essentially is really similar to the way we look at things, the way we do things. We're looking at more from the financial perspective, but ultimately it's so complementary. I love the strong message, a strong reminder for everyone. I think is start with a vision. Be clear about the vision, both as the business leader or leadership team. What do you want? What does the business want? Communicate that down, and then bring everyone with you. Kind of get everyone clear about that. Constantly go back to that message, and then all the good work that you're doing with processes, whether they're operational or indeed financial, right? It all links back to that purpose. And if you bring people on board, if you get them excited, animated, and contributing, it is really powerful. And I just love your enthusiasm for that. And I've really enjoyed that conversation. Thank you.
Good. Oh, thanks. And I think to pick up on that, communicate it back. But what I would say is, live it, breathe it, eat it, drink it. Yeah. Don't just keep telling people. I have clients that have stuck their core values up on a wall and thought that's enough. It's not. Okay. You need to embrace them in your entire life, right? Your whole being should be that. So why would you make a value something you don't 100% engage with? Your value and your vision and mission should be 100% you, because you're the business owner, you're the business leader. If it's not, how are you going to live that and breathe that every day? And how are you going to demonstrate that every day? So that is why it's so important to really be honest and authentic at all times. And then everybody will come with you.
Yeah. I was just going to use that word. Yeah. I'm just hearing the word authenticity. And you sense that as an individual, as an employee, don't you? So you can tell if your leadership really means something.
Oh God, you can so see through it. Like the words are coming out of your mouth. You don't believe a word you just said. Yeah. That is completely, I'm not on board with this. So it's really, really important.
The funniest example I have of that from my career was I worked at a very big business many years ago. And, there were lots and lots of people working in a very standard office, very uninspiring place. And there was a big poster that said, "Have fun." And I remember just kind of looking around and thinking, that's
you are so off the mark right now.
yeah, absolutely. And it was just jarring, so I totally support and agree with you with that. So thank you for reminding us of all these key things, and again, very well done on your support of neurodiversity in entrepreneurship. There's a great cause there, and a lot of benefit to society from it as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really good. So in summary, I'm going to support you both in saying everyone should understand their numbers, because I feel if I didn't do that, Romesh and Claire will be unhappy with me after this call. So focus on your numbers. But I'm going to pick up on Romesh's point as well. And I always have a takeaway from most of these of something I need to do. And I think there is something about storytelling of the direction of your business and the vision, especially with where all of my company is going at the moment. And I think that's a really good resonating point for me. So I like it. But what I love most about you, Claire, is your energy and your kind of insight. And I think your work in neurodiversity is really interesting. And I think it's an area that's, this entrepreneurship and neurodiversity is a very interesting area for further sort of consideration, particularly in policy and education. And I think there's something really important there that you're touching on.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening to today's discussion. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much to Claire for joining. Really great to have you on. So for everyone, Strive and Thrive is a regular series of discussions for entrepreneurs and business leaders. And we've got a really interesting pipeline of speakers over the next month or two. So keep in touch, keep an eye on what we've got involved on our social media platforms, and we'll tell you what's coming up. It'd be great if you could join, and please sign up on all the relevant podcast channels that you take your content from. Thank you very much, and I'd also like to thank Romesh, the team behind Strive and Thrive, and see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Strive and Thrive.